Hello classmates, today I'm going to give you a short presentation about New York City from my point of view. I will divide the presentation in history, location, museums, architecture, the Central Park, things must to do and recommendations to follow. Well, as you know, New York City is in the north of USA in the New York state. Manhattan is a bay built in three islands joined by steel bridges. It has a population of more than 8 million people. One of the famous areas are the Bronx, Ellis Island, Central Park, and Manhattan. That is the most densely populated city in the USA. About the history, the city and its metropolitan area constitute the main gateway for legal immigration to the United States. 800 languages are spoken in New York, making the most linguistically diverse city in the world. New York is the home to more than 3.2 million residents born outside the United States. Um, what else? The city and its surroundings came under English control in 1664 and were renamed New York, also then as New Orange, and then back to New York. Um, mm, New York City was the main destination in the early 20th century for African Americans during the Great Migration from American South. New York City became the largest urban African diaspora in North America. That's why there is black people in Harlem. Then, in the last century, the larger economic boom generated constructions of skyscrapers competing in height. That is the New York characteristic. Well, New York City has more than 2,000 arts and cultural organizations and more than 500 art galleries. The Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Museum of Modern Art, known as MoMA, the American Museum of Natural History, and Ellis Island Immigration Museums are some of them and are also my favorites there in New York. New York, as you can see, has architecturally worthy buildings in a wide range of styles and from distinct time periods, from the Dutch colonial houses in Brooklyn to the modern One World Trade Center and the skyscrapers at Ground Zero in Lower Manhattan. You can admire the Art Deco style of the Empire State Building and the Rockefeller Center. Well, Central Park for me is one of the beauty places of New York. It's the fifth largest park in the city by area, has 8 kilometers long. It's the most visited urban park in the USA with almost 40 million visitors each year and is the most filmed location in the world. This ecosystem has several hundred species of flora and fauna and also a beautiful zoo. It has recreational activities that include horse riding, bicycle tour, bicycling, and sport facilities. And also there's a lot of concerts and events. And as I show you, there's a special spot that visit John Lennon that live in a building near there, and the place is Strawberry Fields. Well, this is the five things that you must do in New York. The number one is travel by subway. Is one of the oldest public systems in the world. It has more than 100 years. It's the largest also with 472 stations, and it never stops. Um, it's in function all year. The number two, eat a hot dog in the Yankee Stadium. The New York song of Frank Sinatra is played at the end of every game in the speakers. Number three, visit the top of one of the skyscrapers like the Empire State Building. The beauty, the view from there is amazing and beautiful. Number four, rent a bicycle and ride along the lanes of the Central Park is the best way to visit it. Number five, go to a show in Broadway. There are dozens of theaters with shows of all kinds. You can see musical, comedies, Cirque du Soleil shows, and concerts. Well, finally, I give you these recommendations. When you visit New York, wear comfortable clothes and shoes. New York is best visit on foot because you could walk more than 10 kilometers each day. Number two, try all kinds of food. There is delicious cuisine from all over the world and at all prices. Of course, always there's a McDonald's in the corner. Number three, I recommend you visiting to investigate the weather in New York because it's very cold in the winter and you cannot walk on the snow. And in the summer it gets very hot and it's very tight. The temperature can reach 40 degrees. Number four, take advantage of the time, visit key sites, but also I recommend you to get lost in the neighborhoods and the museums and the streets and parks of New York. It is fascinating. It's a fascinating city with interesting and diverse people and story. It is impossible to get bored. Well, I really recommend that you visit New York City. It's a place that leaves you with a sense of wonder of what man can build and achieve. It's a dynamic place that seems to make the rest of the world go around. It's a city that you can visit just alone because you are going to recognize yourself in front of an incredible place. Thank you for paying attention.